All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. So here's what we're about to dive into right now. I'm going to bring on a real life trader from the RLT community. I'm going to bring on a friend, someone that I work with very closely, someone that I confide a lot of information in, a really great person, an incredible, high-spirited, phenomenal trader. And my goal is to glean some insights to her trader psychology, maybe some of her strategies. I want to ask her some questions. And I think you are all going to absolutely love meeting and discussing and chatting with Miss Arabia Johnson. So Arabia, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing so good. I saw that you just crushed a really good futures trade. So we're going to talk about that at some point.
Oh, that one was a beauty.
Yes, it was so nice. And believe it, a lot of people say believe it or not, but I'm just going to say believe it because you already know this. So believe it, a lot of people have requested me to reach out to you and to interview you and to talk with you because they want to know your secret sauce. If you had to describe your secret sauce, what is it?
Losing a lot. You gotta lose a lot to learn a lot. That's how it goes.
No, that's so hard though.
Yeah. I don't know. You really have to have an incredible willpower to not only get past the hurdle, but then to like keep chugging along. Because it's really easy. Once you lose a few trades or you lose a chunk of change, you're like, oh man, I don't know if I can do this and blah, blah, blah. You know, you start like beating yourself down. You lose one trade and it brings back everything you've ever been wrong about in your entire life. You're just like,
whoa,
man.
Yeah.
You know, but you get through that and you always come out the other side like with at least 5 things you could have done differently. So then next time, just do that. Just do those 5 things differently.
Interesting. So tell me about it. I mean, tell us a little bit about your story. How did you get started? Why trading? I mean, give us a little bit about that background.
Yeah, so I was just working retail. I was pretty much on a trajectory to work retail my entire life. Like I had actually gone to college, got a bachelor's degree in music engineering. I thought I was going to be like Dr. Dre when I got out of there. And it didn't work out that way. I actually ended up going back to retail. And then all at once, I had a big life change. And I lost my job, my apartment, my independence, like everything at once. And I was like, you know what? I've been working for like over a decade. I don't have anything to show for it. Like my schedule is not my own. I want my life to be something that I have control over. And I never want to be in a place again where my entire independence is based on the whims of a single person, like a manager per se. So I decided to get into trading, and I had been looking into it for a while, but I hadn't really actually taken the steps to figure out like what kind of trading I wanted to do. I had spent like a lot of money in different programs like, oh, let's learn about options and let's learn about swing trading, and maybe I should solely focus on iron condors and that'll make me a millionaire. And it was just jumping from one thing to the other, to the other, to the other. And then I found real life trading. I think I was just searching YouTube for like tips and tricks, and I happened upon one of your videos, and then I just went down the rabbit hole. Like everything RLT I could find, I watched. I took all of the classes because I mean they're free. So like if you know anything about trying to get educated on trading online, there are not a lot of free programs, and the programs that are free are like not really free. They're like, here's an intro course, here's like a little 10-minute clip, and now you got to pull out your credit card and give me $1,000. So like, yeah, it was a breath of fresh air to find something that was, first of all, like some of your videos are like 2 hours long. I mean, you can't.
My bad.
No, I love it. I love it. I know a lot of people are like, oh, that's too much. I don't have time for that. But like, I wanted that. I needed that because I was coming from a place of knowing absolutely nothing. And if you think about it, like, you're not just going to go to one English class your whole life and have it be 15 minutes and now you speak perfect English. Like, it takes time. It takes work. So yeah, I found RLT and then I reached out to you, and thus it began. You know, you gave me some homework to do. I did the homework, and we really just went rolling from there.
I love it. I love it. And I think that automatically shows tenacity, because your journey sounds a lot like mine and a lot of other traders, where you just go and you go, and then you find someone that clicks. And I want to make sure everyone knows it doesn't have to be me, or doesn't have to be real life trading. There are other people that actually are good, but everyone kind of connects and vibes with someone. I have people all the time that email me. They're like, "Hey man, you suck." And I'm like, "All right, cool. Thanks." So, but that's it. Like, I get it. You have to move on. It's all fine. But at some level, you do have to interject and connect and stay with something.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. So tell me a little bit more from there. So you started trading. What did you initially focus on?
Well, I had only $3,000 to fund my account. So I was like, I need to grow a small account, which means in order for me to get like the leverage I want to make the money I want. So I was so focused on making the money right away that I was like, let me just trade options because they're super cheap. And then I can trade Apple like everyone else is trading Apple. And you know, it'll be great. I'll just get weekly options and everything will be cool. And I was not ready yet. I was definitely, I understood like gap sentiment, but I didn't understand it well enough. And it's not even necessarily understanding it. I just didn't have the experience. So like if I saw a gap up on Apple and it was like 6 cents, I was like, woo, yeah, I'm gonna be a millionaire today. It's gapping up. I'm just gonna get in at open and I'm just gonna cross my fingers and everything's gonna be cool. And you know, got in before the retest, got stopped out, then was like, oh, well, I guess it's just gonna go down today. Shorted that puppy, ripped back up, you know. You
Kind
know,
of like it did today.
yeah, exactly like it did today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would have lost double. If this time last year, I would have lost double on that trade today.
Oh man. So that reminds me, how long have you been doing this, like this trading piece of your journey so far?
Um, Pretty much like a year, give or take a couple months.
Mm.
But yeah, just about a year because I think I linked up with you around like February.
Yep.
So yeah,
I love it.
that's
Wow. So over that year, how much time have you spent just looking at charts, do you think?
oh my God, too many hours to count. Countless hours. Because in the beginning, I was like, I don't want to say I wasn't like that into it, but like I didn't realize how much practice it really took. So once I realized that I didn't know what the hell I was doing, I really like focused up and I spent just every waking hour that I could. Like I would be in the bathroom still looking at charts on my phone. I would go walk the dog and instead of just unplugging for 15 minutes to a half hour, I'd be walking down the street with my face in my phone, still watching the market.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it was pretty relentless. There were nights where I only slept like 2 hours. So, yeah, it was a lot.
I love
It
it.
was,
So for those who are here live listening to this story and listening to the interview with Arabia, type in a 2 if so far this sounds a little bit like what you've done. Because I've been there. I love it. It does absorb you because it's like this weird, strange environment that just never quits, but it's all encompassing and all fixating at all times.
yes, exactly. It's like you have this little voice in the back of your mind, and you're like, while you're making yourself a sandwich, you're like, I bet the market popped 2 points. And then before you know it, you're whipping out your phone.
That's so good. That's so good. All right, so you start with a small account.
Right.
You trade options. You're focusing on a few stocks. How did that go?
For me personally, watching more than just one stock is really challenging. Like I know a
Hmm.
lot of people just absolutely crush it. They have their like 4 or 5 stocks that they look at every day and they just do wonderful with that. For me, it was always the wrong choice at the wrong time. So like I was
Hmm.
watching Apple, Facebook, Baba, and the SPY. And no
Hmm.
matter what I did, if I went long on Baba, it was a short Baba, long Apple day. I'd go short on Apple. I should have gone short on Baba instead. And it was just, I was just chasing those 4 stocks, just chasing them every single day. And then something crazy happened, which actually was probably my most profitable trade while I was trading equities, but it was the worst trade of my life. Yeah, it was terrible. So I think it was on a Wednesday, and I had gotten a Facebook like weekly call, and I was down on it on the day. And I was watching price come down, down, down. And I was like, you know what? I got 2 days on this call. So I canceled my stop.
Yep.
Next day, I wake up and Facebook had popped like $3 or something crazy. And I was up so much on my calls. And I was like, this is the secret. All you have to do is hold it. No big deal.
That's it.
That's it. That's it. So then from at that point, I just had this mentality that like, no matter what I did with my weekly calls or puts, if they were going south, all you had to do was cancel your stop. You'll be fine in the morning. Well, that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up blowing that account. And not too shortly after that, actually, like it only took, I think it was MU that did it. And to this day, I still hate MU. But I went through like a week-long process with MU where I was down on it. I got a weekly call. I was down on it on a Monday. And then every day that week, as Friday's approaching, I'm like, okay, I might be okay. Oh no, I'm not going to be okay. It might be okay. And boy, it was not okay on Friday. Blew that account, pulled money off my credit card, refunded the account, blew that again. And it just spiraled from there, just blow after blow after blow. And I was just like, it's fine because I'll just get another credit card. And when I finally hit that Facebook trade again, all of this won't matter, right? Yeah.
Man.
Well, eventually I ran out of credit cards I could even apply for. And that's when I knew I had to do something different. I had to figure out something different. Chasing these 4 stocks around wasn't working. It was like, oh my gosh, I had the worst luck. Like, you guys are profitable in the day room, like month after month. And for some reason, every single trade I took of the official trades lost. And I was like, at this point, I'm like, am I cursed? Am I making them lose? Like, what is going on?
Yes.
Get in your head.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And when that happens, oh man, then you get like a spiral. I mean, it's self-doubt, self-esteem. I'm not good looking enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not rich enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm not fast enough. Like everything, man. It just, it's the worst.
Yeah, then you get to a point where you're just like, you know what? It's just not in the cards for me. Like, I'm not supposed to have a good life.
And you got there. And what happened?
Right. So I got there, and then someone reached out to me from the real life trading community, and she's not in any of the rooms, and she's actually not even on my side panel anymore. So I don't even remember her name, and I feel so bad. But she was like an angel that came out of nowhere and then just disappeared. Like I haven't heard. And she said, and I quote, "You should try futures. There's no Greeks." And I was like, what do you mean no Greeks? What do you mean you can trade a contract with no Greeks? Because the Greeks was really what was killing me. You know, like I would be in a BABA call and everyone else in the trading room would be trading it with shares and they would win on it. And I would still lose even though price was above the strike because all the implied volatility got sucked out. And I was like, I just can't win with options. Like even when I win, I don't win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, you should definitely try futures. There's no Greeks. And I was like, sold. So I reached out to you and I was like, what's this girl talking about contracts with no Greeks? And you were like, I don't know what she's talking about. And then you were like, oh, I think she's talking about futures contracts. They're not options contracts. And then I was just like, wait, what? So then there was another rabbit hole. And I went on to the RLT website and there is an amazing futures course on there. I think it's like 9 classes long, totally free. And I watched that sucker like 7 times, took notes, did everything I could to understand everything about the futures. And then I hit you back up and I was like, okay, so how do I trade futures? You should try Top Step because you can trade futures with other people's money. And I was like, oh my God, that sounds amazing. And so that's what I did. I applied for a Top Step account. There's different account sizes, and it's basically like you pay them an R and they give you a demo account, and you prove to them that you can actually make a set amount of money. There's no maximum time, but there is a minimum time. Or did I say that opposite? You can
No.
take as long as you want to reach the profit
Yeah.
target, but there's no like you have to reach it by a certain amount of time. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah. And
Totally.
so that's basically where I'm at now. Is now I just have to look at one thing a day. I trade the market, I trade the ES, and that's it.
I love it. I love it. And so you focus on, no, how'd you pick the E-minis? Like why that one versus the NQs or the IWM or gold?
You know, I thought about trading the Qs because most of my stocks that I was watching when I was trading equities were in tech. So I guess it kind of would have made more sense to trade the Qs. But then I looked at the way that the price action moves, and I really like that ES is traded like the tick size is by the quarter, which I'm pretty sure the Qs are too, but they move so much faster.
Yeah, I feel like that too, because it's just like a lot more points for them to move, I feel like.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like you get 2 points on ES and you'll get like 5 points on NQ. And that can be really great when you're like on the right side of it. But when you're trying to put a stop loss in place, I find that it can wick you out so much faster. So, and also it's cheaper per tick.
Yeah.
So with NQ, you get $5 per tick, whereas with ES, you get $12.50.
But you tried it, is what you're saying. You tried
I
NQ and you found love with E-minis.
I did try it. And like every now and then I'll still trade NQ. Like there was a night, not too recent, not too far away. It was pretty recent where ES was already at all-time highs and it opened up at 6 p.m. at all-time highs. And I was like, you know what? I just can't, like, per my plan, per my sanity, I can't take a trade at all-time highs hoping it goes so much further into new all-time highs for me to get paid. But at the same time, while it was ticking up like 1 tick, 2 tick, 3 ticks new all-time high, NQ was actually pulling back 5 points and then running 10 for pulling back, running. So when we're in situations where I can't reasonably trade ES, I'll trade NQ overnight. But I will never trade NQ during the day because that puppy moves way too fast for me.
Gotcha. Okay, no, I can respect that. And like I said, that's part of the journey is kind of finding out at some point if you like this, one of two things happen. You either get addicted, and if you get addicted, then you got to find what you like. Because what I heard you say is, hey, you were in the trading rooms, you're trading options, you're doing all of these things that we're doing, and you're losing. And then you eventually find a path that you kind of like, and then you get immersed in it, and you begin to enjoy it a lot more. Is that right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, eventually, ladies and gentlemen, at some point, you're going to have to go, you know what? I like this. This makes the most sense. I get it. For me, early on, that was buying stock and doing covered calls. That was it. 100 shares at a time or more, buying a company, just doing a covered call. I've understood that from day one. And it doesn't mean you're going to get it from day one, but it means at some point you are going to have to go, all right, this is the strategy I'm going to do. This is why I'm going to do it. I'm just going to keep doing this over and over and over again. So I can absolutely, totally respect that. So tell us a little bit about your strategy. What is it you look for, how, why, and all that good stuff?
Yeah. Okay. So I look at pretty much all of the charts. I mostly trade using the tick chart, but lately, if it's not a trending day, then the tick chart can really like whiplash you around. So I primarily will look for entries using the 3-minute, excuse me, and also keep an eye on the 15 and the hourly.
Sure.
I like to use moving averages. So on the 3-minute, basically anything, the 3-minute and the tick chart, I use exponential. Anything below 15, I'll use the exponential moving average. 15 and up, I use the simple moving average because I find that when choosing where the ES is going to bounce or like what a really good profit target is, you can use the hourly and pretty much win like 90% of the time. Unless there's like a catalyst, like the coronavirus headlines will just rip it straight through the 200 simple and we'll be down for a while.
Yeah.
But
What ticks do you use? 333 or something else?
Yep. Yeah, I use the 333 tick.
Mm-hmm.
And on that chart, I like to use the 8 exponential and the 34. So on trending days, you can pretty much just take an entry at the 34, like wait for it to go through the 8, hit the 34, and as soon as it does, just get in and hold it pretty much all day. And that was like my main bread and butter winning strategy in the summer when we were just like ripping higher and there was never a bad day. Those were the days.
Yep.
Yeah. But ever since the trade war started and like the bunch of other little hiccups here and there with the catalysts, the trending days have been kind of far and in between. I mean, like yesterday, I wouldn't even necessarily have called that a trending day because we did have that dip and it was pretty, I mean, it wasn't severe. I think today's dip was a little bigger than yesterday's dip. But like when I'm talking about a trending day, I'm talking about price opens at 6 o'clock at night and never comes back the rest of the day.
Right.
Like
Right.
all the way until 4 p.m. close.
Mm-hmm.
And that hasn't really happened much. Like usually the European Open will kind of take it down a couple points. And by a couple, I mean like 12 to 15 points.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, since that's been going on, I've really just mostly been looking at the hourly and seeing like, okay, if I were short right now, how low will price go before they put in a bear trap? Because we are still in a bull market. So like, even though we're having these kind of higher volatility down days, price has been recovering like really well considering. I mean, you look at the daily on ES from, what was it, 127? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was like a huge red day. Like everyone thought we were going to go lower after that day, right? And then the very next day, we get an even bigger green day. Like,
sure. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, pretty much just try to get it as low as you can.
I can respect that. Yeah. And I love what you mentioned. So you said, how low will we go before we put in a bear trap? So can you just kind of explain a little bit about what that means?
Yeah, totally. So, actually today's trade is a really good example of that. Do you have that?
On my, the screen? Yep. I have the chart pulled up.
Okay, cool. I don't know where my Zoom window went. I can't see it. So today, pretty much everyone thought that the market was just going to keep ripping at open, right? Like it had ripped all night long and the European Open just brought it back down to like VWAP and then it bounced right there in the middle of the night. So when it went below VWAP and started tanking, like I'm looking at the 3-minute chart right now.
Yep.
I mean, you got to look at those last 3 candles, right? And you see that buyers are trying to step in because these candles have buying wicks. Even though they're red, they still have buying wicks. So I look over at the hourly, which is my chart down in the right-hand corner.
Yep.
And I'm like, cool, I would love to get in on the hourly 50. Like that seems awesome. But I looked at the trade while it was tanking and I checked for a coronavirus headline and saw that there wasn't one. So if there was one, then I probably would have waited to see what we actually did at the 50. But since there wasn't one, I was like, cool, we're just retesting like the overnight move. It's not that big of a deal. We're in a bull market. It's going to catch at some point. So if I were short at the open, I would have been looking to get out at 70. And so the perfect bear trap is when you get like 3-4 ticks away from getting like $1,000 profit, and then they just immediately rip it on you right within grasp of that. So if you're trading 2 contracts and you had gotten in like, let's say 80 or even 90, you're going to be looking for that whole number. You're going to be looking to get out at 70. And so since I saw that buying was trying to step in, I just got in at 71. And I was like, you know what? I don't think it's going to get to 69 because I use 2-point stops. So getting it as low as possible is imperative because ES is really retesty. So if you get in even like a point too high, that could have been the point that you really needed for it to not come out and wick you out and then bounce.
Yeah. Now obviously I know that happens a lot. So do you ever get back into a trade, or how do you determine when to get back in if you do get wicked out?
If I get wicked out, my rule is I have to get in lower than my original entry.
Ooh, that's a cool rule. Okay.
Yeah. So I've found that like if I get wicked out of something, or if let's say I got in at 71, right? And it came back down and and I got scared and I like hit exit and I marketed out for like, I don't know, $50 profit. I'm not then going to allow myself to get back in higher. Because if I didn't have the stones to hold it at 71, then what makes me think that it's going to work if I hold it at 73? You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because
Sure.
like that has definitely happened to me before where I'm like, it came down and all I had to do was just not touch it, right? And I would have been fine. But I got scared and I exited. And of course, it comes right down to my entry and then rips from there. And then I'm like, okay, cool, we're going back up. So I get in 2 points higher and then it comes back down and it tests that entry, or it tests 2 points above that entry, which is now my new entry. And it's just a process and a process. And if you do that, you'll end up chasing it all the way up and making like a couple bucks at a time where you could have just held your original entry and made 5R.
You know what I love about this conversation, first, Arabia, is, and I've interviewed a few other futures traders, but what you're doing right now is you're explaining your process so much better than every single one of them. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm learning tons. So here's a question. Then this entry, was it like a limit buy? Was it a stop limit, or was it a market entry? Or did you join that bid?
I always just hit the bid. Like I trade off the dome.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, there are times where I wait for price. I see it hit 71. Then I'm like, okay, cool, I'm going to go for it. I jump in at 71 and so does everyone else and their mom. And I don't get filled, but someone else does. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just you and like 12 other orders. And now all of a sudden there's 400 orders at 71. You can pretty much guarantee that at that point, you're not going to get 71. So you might as well try for 71.25 and hope that price isn't moving too quick for you to get it. But I will not allow myself to chase a point higher. So like a tick higher, that's one thing. But when you're using 2-point stop, then every point counts. And at that point, if you've missed it, you've missed it. And also like ES does retest a lot. So I'll leave my order open at 71. And sometimes we'll get that quick flash down where it gets to 70, 75. And that's the lowest it ever sees for the rest of the day, which is pretty much what happened today. Like you see, I got in on that third candle to the left of, the second candle to the left of the green.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it took off and I was like, cool, I'm going to win. And then that green candle at one point was a scary, scary red candle.
Definitely.
And I was like, oh no, I'm going to lose. And then I think it got like 1 tick, maybe 2 ticks below my entry. And that was it. It's not going back down there.
Interesting. So how'd you choose a 5R target in this situation?
Okay. Well, VWAP was over 5 Rs away.
Okay.
So I like to think of it in terms of points. So if I can get 10 points before VWAP, then it's kind of a no-brainer. Like I'm going to take that trade all day, unless there is some kind of catalyst. Like if there was a new coronavirus headline, I would have waited. But yeah, if it's just a normal day in a bull market and we're 10 points or more away from VWAP, I'm taking that trade.
Got it. And so why a 2-point stop? Is that just your risk, or what's specific about that?
Yep, that's my risk. I trade with a $200 R, and I trade 2 contracts.
Yep.
So and generally like when I was trading like one contract with wider stops, I wasn't getting in as low as I should have been getting in, because with the extra risk tolerance, I was like, oh, it won't come back down there. And if it does, it'll just chop around and then it'll bounce. Whereas now I have to be really selective, and I have to think like, if it goes 2 points below this point right here, I've chosen a good enough entry where if I get stopped out on this, it's because it's going to go a lot further. And
Mm.
why lose 4 points when I can readjust, maybe take a short, maybe just wait for it to come down like another 10 points and then go long and try to get 20 back to VWAP. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like
Yep.
when you have a really nice wide stop, sometimes it's hard to see that the trade's not going to work because you have so much room to get to your stop.
Got it. And what I really like about this particular trade, just visually, is also both the 15-minute chart and the hourly chart, just that trap. So again, everyone, to kind of explain what Arabia and also myself, what I look for in futures. I don't trade futures during the day. I only trade them at night, but I always wait for a trap. So a trap is very specifically, I'm looking at this chart. I see tons and tons and tons of where stops would have been hit. I see that wick, and then I would have played it. So I'll show you using your chart how I would have taken this trade. Again, I know that you and I have different styles and you're better than me, but this is what I would do. Is I love trying to be that person, and sometimes I get it right, sometimes I don't. But I see this candle close above the bearish candle, and you have that nice morning star. I buy off of there with the stop right there. That's normally how I play it, and then I just get out the VWAP. Obviously, not nearly as profitable as a trade, but still kind of profitable. That's usually what I do because I just love the candles. I love the sentiment. I love good closes, and just taking pullbacks. And I love this setup. This is a really, really clean, great entry. And this is the one that you did today, right?
Yeah, that was my hashtag one and done for the day.
Yeah. So how many trades do you normally take?
If it's a really good day, just one. If it's a okay day, two. And if it's a bad day, like 5.
I hear that. So is a bad day, is that like you're trying to get back to even, or what are your rules for some of that stuff?
Yeah, exactly. So basically if I can trade overnight and I can make 5R overnight, I'm not trading during the day.
Okay.
At all. Let's say I take a trade overnight and I get like 2R. Then the next day I'm still trying to get 5. If I don't get 5 day side, but I get like 3 and I have 5 total, then I'll stop. What's up?
No, I was just saying I see.
Oh, okay. If I take a trade overnight and lose and I'm down for the morning, now that's usually when I have a bad day, because the first thing on my mind is like, I've got to get back to break even, which I usually always do. And then I should stop. But now I'm like, okay, clean slate.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to then get my 5R, which I don't usually get first thing in the morning. Like a trade like this is pretty rare. I mean,
Yeah.
not super rare, but it's rare. Like usually you don't get such a clean straight
Yeah.
shot back up like that V rally. It's just amazing.
Which is the perfect time for me to have an interview with you. I mean, wow. We could
Yeah.
have scripted this even better.
Yeah,
So
100%.
so you take this trade, you're done for the day always, is what you're saying. 5 hours, you're done.
Yep. Especially on a day like today where you have the FOMC meeting at 2:00.
Yeah.
Anything can happen during that Fed meeting, my friend. Anything.
Ooh, tell me how many Fed meetings you've traded and be honest.
I have traded about 10 to 15 Fed meetings, and I have lost more money trading Fed meetings than I've probably made not on like all the other days combined.
Gotcha. So you at this point then you just don't trade Fed meetings, I'm guessing.
No, I just don't. And it's mostly because with Top Step, you have to be flat 1 minute before and after the economic release. So by default, you're already chasing the move. Just by following the rules, you're already chasing the move because it's going to start happening like at 2:00 on the dot. Those computers kick in. You can't be faster than an algo. You just can't, no matter what you do.
Sure.
So I've found that it'll quick either rip 10 points and then fall 10 points, fall another 10 points, then rip 10 points, or it'll do the opposite and it'll drop 10 points, then rip 10, go another 10, come back down to like the medium, and then by 2:30, then it'll pick a direction and start going. So like at that point, with my little 2-point stops, there's nothing I can do to not get raped. Oops, sorry.
But you're right, though. You are right. It's going to be crazy and wild, huh?
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely crazy and wild. And yeah, there have been like a couple Fed meetings I can count on one hand where I've like made like 30 points. And that was like the best day of my life. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be a millionaire tomorrow, you know, like so excited. But then the next day you have a crazy move like that. And the next day you're generally going to have like a resting day. And that's what you've taught me. And also I've learned from experience is like, once you have a day where you make like 10R or more, you pretty much should probably just not trade the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're going to be chasing that big win. You're going to be like, oh man, I'm going to do it again today. And you're just not going to get anywhere near it. And you're going to end up giving back precious R's just trying to like make what you think is a decent profit. But now your mind is skewed because a decent profit is like an extraordinary profit in reality now.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Man, that's a good point. Because I mean, it's just like that's the mind. It's like, oh, I did so well. Let me just keep doing it.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
This is not going to end.
Right.
So what does your futures trading look like from here? Like give us like the next year for Arabia Johnson. What do you think?
That's a good question. Ooh, man, I don't know. I'd like to get to a point where I got to like do a little bit more like future swings and less day trading and really just like wait for it to come down to the 200 on the hourly and then buy it and hold it a couple days.
Yeah.
I think that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Because the thing with day trading like through a prop firm is you have to follow their rules. So like there's a lot of times where like this trade that I took today, man, if I could have held that to the 200 on the hourly, that red line up there at the top in the hourly, like, do I think it gets there today? After the Fed meeting, maybe. But like, do I think we get there by tomorrow? Yeah, definitely. So like, that would have been a sweet, sweet trade. But you know, you gotta close at the end of the day. So you gotta think about that.
Yeah, that's a very good point to consider because that is, you know, when you're trading other people's money, regardless if it's futures or not. I mean, you know, you got to pony up and you got to follow by their rules. That's just how prop firms work in general. Because there's prop firms for equities, there's prop firms for futures.
All right.
Yeah. What's your experience in Top Step so far? I know you have pros and cons, and I know we don't have 3 hours, so give us like a kind of brief overview.
Honestly, like if you're gonna trade futures, then you should probably start doing it with someone else's money first because there's a lot to learn with futures. And because you're so highly leveraged, it's really easy to lose a lot of money. So like I lose your own money when you can pay them like a couple $100 a month and lose theirs. You know?
Yeah, totally.
The split, Dustin, is 80-20 after the first $5,000. So you get 100% of your first $5,000 profit, and then after that, it's 80-20, which is really awesome.
Yeah, it's not bad.
No, it's not bad at all.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, because that's something that you gotta we definitely have to consider and think about. Because I had one trader reach out to me, and they were trading futures with real money, and he wasn't doing terrible, but he was losing. He was like, "Yeah, man, I can't quite get it. I'm practicing. I'm losing like $300 a month." I'm like, "Oh, that's not bad." He's like, "No, that's not bad." I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, $300 a month." I was like, "Well, why don't you just do Top Step then?" He's like, "Well, why would I pay money to do Top Step?" I'm like, well, think about it this way. Right now, you're losing on average $300 a month of your money. I was like, why not just lose $170 and that's it? That's the most you lose. And then you can prove to yourself that you actually get it,
Yep.
and then in your other account, you can just buy Apple or Google or Facebook, something that's
Right.
like, is most likely going to go higher.
Yeah. And then that right there, just buying like Apple or Google or whatever, that would have just paid for his Top Step, couple months of Top Step right there.
Yeah. Even if it's like 7 shares or something, it's like, you gotta understand that that's still the application of money and the money flows. You got to be thinking through it, and it's not massively expensive. And this is not necessarily a Top Step commercial at all, but I just want to let you all know that it's an opportunity. If you want to learn how to trade futures, or if you've never traded futures, what are 3 or 4 benefits in your opinion, Arabia?
Of using Top Step?
No, just trading futures in general.
Oh, just trading futures in general? Okay, well, if you trade options and you've ever had your option not work out when the stock price is actually doing better than what you bought it at, then trade futures, because there's no Greeks. That is the number one thing. That's it. Like, honestly.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about implied volatility. You don't have to worry about like expiration and which strike should I buy. Just trade futures. Another example of why futures are awesome is like if you trade the SPY, right?
Yep.
Every time the SPY goes up, you're getting a penny, 1 penny, 2 penny, 3 penny. With futures, they trade in ticks and points. The ES being 25 ticks, so every 0.25, instead of making 1 penny, you make $12.50. Like that leverage is insane. It's just insane. Just with one contract, you're like, is it triple? Like, what is it? It's 12able? What's the times?
Oh man, no idea. Yeah, big number.
Big leverage, huge leverage. Which like with great leverage comes great responsibility. But if once you start to know what you're doing, which the time will come, if you stick with it, you will learn how to do this. Then, I mean, you're going to be thinking to yourself, why did I even ever deal with equities? Like, I wish I had never even started on equities and just learned futures from the get-go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's see. Number three reason to trade futures is they trade almost 24/7. So if you have stuff that you have to do during the day, let's say you work or you care for family or something like that, then you can trade after dinner, overnight. You can put on a trade and go to sleep. I mean, how many times have you woken up in the morning and seen that everything in the market is gapping up? Why not be part of that gap? Why not trade that gap and be the reason why everything is gapping up?
Bingo. Yep. Because it's great to be a participant of that, because it's like a lot of it honestly is just the time. I love the time, like you said. I mean, if you have a full-time job or you live in a different part of the world or you're doing something kind of interesting, you have so much opportunity. Like you come home 2-3 hours at night or 2-3 hours really, really early in the morning when the market's closed. I mean, again, it's open playground.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And then plus like it makes what's going on in the news really exciting. Cause like there was a night when the bombs hit the US base in Iraq the other night, man, the futures just took off. And I remember seeing in Slack, everyone was like, oh my gosh, the market is doing crazy things overnight. And you posted, yeah, we're over here in the futures room trading it.
Yeah, that was going on. Oh, I did not sleep at all that night. At all.
No, that was a wild night.
That was
and then
insane.
To have it like to fully recover like that same night, not only did it fly like, I don't know, 300 points down, but then it went up like 600. Oh man.
That was nuts. And I want everyone to know that no one knew that was going to happen. I'll go in and actually look at that day, because I'll show you how I traded a few different times.
Oh yeah, look at that hammer.
It just happened like on accident. Like it was just like this giant amount of selling. And then, so let's let me go zoom into this. January 8th, because that'll be a day that I'll remember for a while.
Oh yeah. Dude, the size of those candles, like, come on.
Bananas. Bananas. So this was right here. So yeah, we have, again, market opened, not market open, but the futures open right here. Beautiful high wave candle, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you guys all know how I love playing the high waves. So it was, for me, entry stop. And then I got out and I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then I was like, what is going on? This was it. This was a candle that I was like, something's up.
Yep.
Something is definitely happening right now.
I took
And
like pretty much the same trade as you. I think we got out within like a point of each other.
yeah. And it was just like, what is that? Because you don't get candles like that very frequently, not even 35, 40 minutes into, the new session.
Oh yeah.
There's massive sell-off and I had no idea what was going on. So
That 3-minute candle is like a 20-point candle.
huge. I mean, so much money was exchanged hands during that time right there.
Oh yeah.
But what's really useful to know, at least in futures, is because when you get something like that, especially if you're a part of it, you know how scary or how bearish or how whatever it was in the moment. So when it gets taken out,
Mm-hmm.
right? When that price gets taken out, I'm like, oh, well, I'm full bull at this point, because why would you not be? I mean, that price got taken out like within hours. Like, we're not even talking about the next 2-3 days. Like, it got taken out, and you almost always get a retest of that price. That was me right there. That nice, because it was just too much run up. And I was like, we need a little bit of a pullback. So I just threw in like a random order at 32.20 and just bloop, and almost got stopped out, got lucky, and then sold, I think, somewhere over here. But yeah, that was a crazy.
There?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I know. The reason Arabia's saying no is because look at this, guys. It just went bananas. Bananas. Oh my gosh. It was crazy. So yeah, pretty intense, but definitely very fun, and a lot of craziness was happening, a lot of fun stuff. But that was the day that, again, the market was down just randomly huge, and then it kind of rallied back. And those things can happen. I mean, again, you can be a part of it if you're actually trading futures. So Mark Moses is asking the question, what's the most suitable minimum account to start trading E-minis futures? And so again, I would come back and say, Mark, I would suggest just going with and trading through and practicing with Top Step. Because you're going to start an account, it's like you might as well just use their account, use their money for, I don't know, I mean, like 2-3 months, like just practice it, do something, see if you really like it, see if it's enjoyable, see if you're a fan of it. Let's just go look at it really, really quick, and I'll get back to what Arabia was saying. I just want to answer Mark's question. So when you have 4 different types of accounts you can trade with. And so I would suggest, if you're going to start out with your own money, you probably do not want to start with $50,000. You can do futures with actually kind of a smaller amount of money, though. Is that correct, Arabia? Like if it's your own money?
Yeah, if it's your own money. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so you can start with smaller amounts. Again, I wouldn't theoretically 100% suggest it, but hey, totally your call, your money, your objective. But again, this is $165 a month, so it's not that much. So you spend, an hour and a half, you get $50,000.
Sorry.
No, let's go ahead.
If you're going to trade it with your own money, then only trade one contract.
Yes, absolutely. And you're going to want to trade 3.
Yeah.
After you trade the first contract, you're going to want to now trade 3 from there on out. But I suggest highly, for a very long period of time, just do one contract. So yeah, that's really key. So back to this, because again, I'll post a link to that in the chat pane in the description box if you're listening to this, if you want that. But Arabia, for the next 5 or 6 minutes, let's talk a little bit about the trading psychology and all the hurdles that you had to overcome. What would be some advice that you have for a trader? Let's say they've been trading for 2.5 years. They've lost, I don't know, 16 grand. They feel like throwing in the towel. What would your suggestion be?
Ooh, okay. Well, what really worked for me was to take a look at like my rhythm and my routine. Like, what was it about what I did every single day that just made me just throw caution to the wind and be like, well, if I die on this hill, I die. Like, let's go for it, you know? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and honestly, like, what I found to be was that I was listening to the wrong music. I was listening to like Drake, and that made me feel like I was richer than I was. And it made me do things that were dumb. And also, like, I think that having a little bit of distraction is a good thing, because if you're just sitting in silence staring at the computer, then you get faked in and out easily because your emotions are heightened. Everything's heightened. Like, you ever sit in a quiet room and you feel like you can hear the blades of grass outside moving?
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to feel like that when you're trading.
Yeah.
So now I have Netflix on in the background quietly, and I'm not watching it, but it's just having something going on so that, like, if I feel like I need to wait for an entry, I can remove my eyes from the chart and actually do something that gets my mind off it for at least 30 seconds, 45 seconds. Because sometimes that extra 30 seconds, 15 seconds or something like that, that's the exact moment that you wish you could take back when you do something dumb. Like, you had the right idea, you were gonna wait, you almost waited, and then boom, you hit the button, you know?
And the button was hit. Yep.
And then you think about your day and you're like, okay, that 20 seconds right there, that was the pivotal moment that I need to get control of. So just kind of take a look at what you're doing and figure out what it is exactly that you're doing that, if avoided, could have meant a completely different day for you. And then just change it. Just change your routine.
Yeah. Yeah. You're spot on. You're spot on. Cause that's what I was talking about a little bit earlier today. I mean, it's like, you got to do a little bit of self-reflection, even though you don't want to, and you probably don't know why. You're normally just mad at yourself or mad at the world or mad at everything, but you do have to do a little bit of that self-reflection and kind of figure out why this whole process is happening to you.
Yeah. 100%.
What else? That's a good suggestion. What else? I mean, should they give up? When should a trader know, I'm done? This is not for me.
Ooh. Yeah, like, I'm not one to give up on anything. So it's like, that's hard. But I think that it can't be a dollar amount, because, like, people just put way too much emphasis and focus on money. And, like, yeah, money is everything when you're trading. But, like, if I had stopped when I ran out of money, then I wouldn't be here right now. I had to run out like 5 times before I finally figured it out. And I think that personally, it was at a point where I just woke up one morning and I was like, do I like who I am right now? Because once you start losing that much and the negativity creeps in and you start looking at yourself in the mirror and you're like, I'm pretty much a loser all around, that's when you really decide, like, do you accept that? Do you accept that about yourself? And if you're the type of person that can't be like, you know what? No, I'm better than this and I'm going to prove it, then it's probably time to give up, because there's no way that you're going to become a successful trader unless you can look at what you're doing wrong, admit what you're doing wrong, and then make an effort to change it.
Bang. That's it. That's the secret sauce I asked about earlier. That is it. Because we have to do that in every facet of success, not even in trading, just in anything. Exactly what you just said. We got to figure out how to change it. And then the hardest part, the most painful part, the most frustrating part of it is you have to actually change it.
Yeah, exactly. Because, I mean, today's trade is a prime example, dude. Like, literally a year ago, I would have gone long pre-market, lost $1,000, and then immediately sold the bottom. As soon as the pain got too great, I would have exited the long and shorted. And, like, that is just so dumb. Like, I can't believe I was doing that. Like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And it would have made perfect sense at the time too, right? Like, oh, well, there's so many bearish candles, we're going to keep going down. Like, no, we're not. Sorry.
I mean, also, you kind of just bought low, sold high as well.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, kind of, sort of.
Simple.
Yeah. Arabia, I gotta again admit it was just it's an absolute honor to be a part of you and your team and your. When I say your team, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys ever do join real life trading, again, it's up to you, but I think you should because you'll have access to people like Arabia. But this is the Futures channel right here, and I will say respect her time because if you do join Slack, don't message her all the time because she does trade a lot, and ask her, hey, are you free in the next 3 days for 20 minutes? Just have a chat. If you do something, just I'm saying, give her some space because she's been training for a year, right? You gotta work yourself out. She's gonna have times where it's gonna suck, and she's gonna have times where it's amazing. I mean, shoot, we all do that. So at the end of the day, the Futures channel is a great channel. People love trading futures. We learn a lot there together. I'm not really there until later at night, when the markets are closed. But what I really enjoyed about this interview, Arabia, is you were real, you were honest, you were transparent. You kind of told us like it was. And very few people do that. I don't know why, but you did a great job of that. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the interview. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my absolute pleasure. So ladies and gentlemen, that is Arabia Johnson here with Real Life Trading. Just a really wonderful addition to the community. Someone that I try to work with every single day. We chat every single day via Slack or text message or phone call or something. And it's just about surrounding yourself with people who are better than you or smarter than you or more emotionally intelligent or more articulate or richer than you or faster than you or stronger than you. You got to put yourself around people who are phenomenal at something in addition to what you are really good at. Each one of us has skill sets. What I can say is I try my best to have an interview like this every single week. So if you are interested in being a part of the Real Life Trading community, next week we're interviewing someone, the week after that. Every single week we're going to interview someone, ask questions, get the dirty deeds, get the secret sauces, get the details, and just learn how to enrich lives and be real life traders. So folks from around the world, thank you for being a part of this recording and this interview today. I will see you all from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern for Energy Wednesday. And until then, love life, and trade it. Bye.